Hey everyone, Huion here. Today I'm reviewing the Huion Kamvas Pro 16 V2 pen display. So the original Huion Kamvas Pro 16 was released almost 6 years ago in 2019, and this new model is just a slight update to the earlier model. So the update is the pen display now supports the Huion PW600 series pens that use PenTech 4. So you can expect even better pen performance, better pressure sensitivity, and accuracy. First of all, disclaimer, this is a review unit provided by Huion, and in this video I'll just present to you my findings so that you can decide whether this is worth the money. At the time of making this video, the price of the Kamvas Pro 16 V2 is $399 US, and this includes 1 year of warranty, and free shipping may be included depending on your location. And the previous model is still available for sale, and it's currently selling at $279 US. So when you're choosing which pen display to get, make sure you select the correct one. The Huion Kamvas Pro 16 V2 comes with 8 hotkeys by the side, which includes the power button, and there is this touch bar. As usual, let me give you the bottom line up front, tell you the main pros and cons. So this pen display comes with a 15.6-inch LCD, and this is a good size to work with for drawing. The resolution is just 1080p though, so you will see some pixelation with the UI, and if you need high resolution, you can, well, buy the more expensive Huion pen displays with 2.5K or 1440p resolution or even 4K resolution. But if you want to save some money, then this is an option for you. The matte glass surface is wonderful to draw on, and it's very easy to clean if there are any smudges on the display. Colors on the pen display look good out of the box, and with a color calibrator, I measured color support for 100% sRGB, 83% ODB RGB, and 94% P3. So this is essentially a 100% sRGB display. This is how the anti-glare looks when there is strong light source on the display. Now the maximum brightness of this pen display is just 141 nits from what I have measured, which is not considered that bright. But for use indoors, it actually looks fine, and my room is actually pretty bright right now, and the brightness is still sufficient. The display is laminated, so there is almost no gap between the pen tip and the line beneath. The matte glass surface provides this subtle tactile experience when drawing. Initial activation force of this pen is very low, so you can draw with minimal pressure, and sketching will feel like sketching. And as you can see, there is no diagonal line wobble and jitter. This pen has 3 side buttons, which is quite useful. So when I press this button, I can move the cursor to the other display and move it back. And you can set the other 2 buttons to other shortcuts. Downsides, this pen display has not been updated to support USB-C video connection, so you have to use the Huion 3-to-1 cable to connect this pen display to your computer using the HDMI video connection. One of the cables is USB-A, so if your computer does not have a USB-A port, you will need to buy a USB-A to USB-C adapter. And the maximum brightness of this pen display is 141 nits, which is lower than the advertised brightness, which is alright for indoor use, but I do wish the brightness could be higher. By the way, this is not a touch screen. So those are the main pros and cons, and my overall drawing experience with this pen display is very positive. I did not experience any issues with the hardware or with the driver, so the overall digital art workflow is very smooth, very predictable, very consistent. So this is a good pen display. And if you guys are interested to buy this, you can use the affiliate links that I have for you in the video description below to make your purchase, and at the same time support my YouTube channel, because I do get to earn some commission, but at no extra cost to you. Alright, let's move on to the full review. Let's take a look at the items included with the purchase. This is how the packaging box looks. These other items included in the box. There's a microfiber cleaning cloth, an artist glove, a quick start guide, some stickers. The stickers are squarish in shape, so they are not for the hotkeys on the pen display, and these are probably for the Huion K20 shortcut remote, which is sold separately. This is the power adapter with a barrel connector. This is 12 watt, and this connector can be replaced, but for my review unit, there are no replacement plugs, so if possible, try to choose the correct plug on the ordering page. The only cable that works with this pen display is the 3-to-1 cable that is included. So this L-shaped USB-C will go to the pen display, and on the other side, this will go to power. This full-size HDMI will go to your computer, and this USB-A for data will also go to your computer. If your computer does not have any USB-A ports and has USB-C ports, you will need to buy yourself this USB-A to USB-C adapter so that you can connect this to your computer. This is the Huion ST200 tablet stand, and I'm not sure whether this is an optional purchase or if it's included with the pen display, because at the time of review, the product page is not up yet, so I'm not sure whether this is included. But for the original Kamvas Pro 16 released many years ago, this was an optional purchase. So this tablet stand allows you to deploy your pen display at 2 angles. This is the high angle, and you can have different levels, but they are quite similar. And this is the low angle. And there's this latch here that prevents our pen display from sliding down. If you don't already have a tablet stand, definitely get a tablet stand because this will provide you with a more ergonomic drawing experience. And lastly, we have the pen and pen stand. So you can place the pen vertically or horizontally on the pen stand. Underneath the pen stand is the pen nib remover, and this is the rubber feet beneath with good grip on the table. When you open this, you can find 10 replacement pen nibs inside, and these are the plastic ones. The pen is also compatible with felt nibs, which are not included. Let's look at the pen. So this is a variant of the Huion PW600L. I say it's a variant because if you look at Huion's website, PW600L actually has a flat top. This has an angled flat top. The PW600L has a flat horizontal top. Now both pens do not have an eraser at the back. There is another pen called the Huion PW600 with an eraser at the back, and since the pens are from the same series that use PenTech 4, they should be compatible with the pen display. This pen comes with 3 side buttons which are customizable using the driver. There is a huge silicone grip which is quite comfortable to hold. For some reason, this pen is fitted with a felt nib instead of the plastic nibs you saw earlier. And this pen nib has no movement when in contact with the drawing surface. So this is a firm pen nib. So this is how the Huion Kamvas Pro 16 V2 or Gen 2 looks. I have already connected this to my computer, and this connector is L-shaped, so the cable will go up or down depending on how you want to turn the cable. If you are left-handed, you can turn this 180 degrees so that the cable connector or the port will be here. On the left side, there is the power button, 6 customizable hotkeys, and this button for the OSD manual. And there is this touch strip here. This works like a slider, so you can use this to adjust brush size, zoom or pan or scroll. The buttons have firm clicks to them. This pen display is quite thin, thinner than most laptops. The design looks clean and simple. The corners are rounded off and the edges are beveled. The back is matte textured, and this feels like metal, so the build quality is quite solid, and there are 2 big pieces of rubber feet with very good grip on the table. The resolution of this pen display is 1920 by 1080, so the aspect ratio is 16:9. This is LCD, and this is not a touch screen. The refresh rate is 60 Hz. Now, out of the box, the colors look alright to me, and since I use multiple displays, I have to calibrate all my displays. So I have already color calibrated this pen display using the Spider X2 color calibrator that I have. I measured color support for 100% sRGB, 81% NTSC, 83% ODB RGB, and 94% P3. And I measured a maximum brightness of 142 nits, which is not considered high, but for indoor use it's still sufficient. So this is essentially a 100% sRGB display, and the colors do look quite good. So the color accuracy here is good for creating visuals, artworks, for sharing online. If you work with print or CMYK color mode, I would actually recommend you go with a pen display that supports close to 100% Adobe RGB, but those pen displays are significantly more expensive. This pen display has a matte glass surface, but it's more glossy than matte because you can still see the sharp reflections, and this is how a more textured matte surface will look without any sharp reflections. And because it's more glossy than rough, there is no anti-glare sparkle, color noise, or grain, so it doesn't affect the visual quality of the display. So all the visuals you can see still looks really sharp. And the pixelation is due to the 1080p resolution. The pen tip will glide quite smoothly on the matte glass surface, but this is not considered slippery. I can still get a good amount of control over the pen. The tactile drawing experience is quite subtle. The display is laminated, so the gap between the line and the pen tip is minimal, and parallax is not an issue. Here you can see a gap between the line and the pen tip because my camera is pointing at an angle from the side. And this is how it looks from the front, so parallax is definitely not an issue. So one huge advantage of having a matte glass surface is you don't have to worry about scratching the display because glass is very unlikely to scratch. And if you switch over to using a felt tip for the pen, you can get a more tactile drawing experience. Let's see what you can do with the OSD menu. So just press and hold the last button here, and the OSD menu will appear. Now notice earlier when I press this, there is this circular control panel. This will let you switch between the 4 different functions for the touch strip by the side. If you don't want to use this, you can just disable it. Just press and hold and the light will come on. So the next time you press it, nothing will happen. So let's look at the OSD. To navigate through the menu, you have to use the buttons by the side. So this button will move to the right, and this will move to the left. This is enter, and this is to go back. Unfortunately, the pen cannot be used to access the settings. So under picture, you can adjust the brightness, contrast, and sharpness. And under color, there is panel uniformity. Let's go in and have a look. There is gamma, color temperature, color effect. I'm not sure what is demo. There is sRGB, color space, Rec 709 color space, native color space. You can adjust the hue as well, and saturation. Under advanced, you can change the aspect ratio. I'm not sure what overdrive is. What is this? DDCCI. I'm not sure what that is either. Anyway, you can leave most of these settings as default. Under other, you may want to set the manual time from 10 seconds to 30 seconds because the manual time is quite short. And that's pretty much it. Next, we'll see what the driver can do. So this is the Mac OS driver. The Windows driver should have the same functionality. So this is I would say the main page where you can customize the side buttons. Just have your pen or cursor over the button, click on it, and you will be able to customize the buttons. You can create your own keyboard shortcut. Just, enter your own keyboard shortcut. You can use mouse buttons, and there are many that you can choose from. You can also set a modifier key, Control Shift Option Command. There are tools for switch screen, which is very important if you are using a dual display setup. You can also switch brush, multimedia controls to adjust volume, to pause and play songs. You can show and hide the driver settings or the functions of the express keys. There is precision mode, which will allow the cursor to move much slower when drawing. Pen and scroll, virtual keyboard settings. Now this is interesting. I have already set one button to show the virtual keyboard or the rectangular keyboard, and there are 24 keys here that you can customize. So you can input your own keyboard shortcuts into one of these soft keys, and you can get like a lot more shortcuts. So this can be quite useful if you use like many shortcuts. Okay, let's move down. There is Run Program, where you can click one button to launch an app. And there is Fix Pressure Sensitivity, which will disable your pressure sensitivity, or you can disable the hotkeys altogether with no function. Now, if you look here at the top right corner, you can actually tap the plus button here, and you can actually create a group of shortcuts for the apps that you use. For example, you can create a group of shortcuts for Photoshop, another group of shortcuts for Clip Studio or for Adobe Illustrator. And when you switch between the different apps, those shortcuts will launch automatically. So this can be quite useful if you would like to switch between different apps or if you use different apps. Let's tap here to customize the touch strip. So you can customize up to 4 functions for the touch strip, and as mentioned earlier, you can use the bottom button to switch between the different functions. By default, you can change the brush size, brush flow, brush opacity, or you can rotate the canvas. Now, rotating the canvas may or may not be possible depending on the app you use. And there are some pre-programmed shortcuts for these pre-programmed apps that are here: Photoshop, Lightroom, Premiere Pro, Clip Studio. So these are the default pre-programmed shortcuts for the touch strip for these apps. Okay, let's go back. You can enable or disable the hotkeys, and you can I'm not sure why there is dull here, but if you don't want to use the touch strip, you can just disable it from the no function option here. Okay, next is the mapping. So by default, you can leave this as default because this will map the drawing area of the pen display to the desktop. If you are right-handed, you can change the orientation of the pen display here to 180 degrees. This is where you can customize the virtual keyboard or the rectangular keyboard, which you can rename, by the way. You can customize the size of that keyboard. You can make it bigger or smaller. I will have it small because this pen display is just 16 inches. You can set the transparency. And if you scroll down here, you can see the 24 soft keys, and you can tap on each one of them to customize the keyboard shortcut to each one of them. So this will give you additional 24 keyboard shortcuts. Let's tap here to look at the pen controls. You can roll over the buttons to customize the pen button. And I usually set one of the buttons to switch display since I use multiple displays. So that would be under Tools, Switch Screen. And for the pressure curve, you can adjust the curve using 3 control points here, or you can choose from the pre-programmed shortcuts. Let me just set it as default, and you can test the pen here. Under Advanced Setup, you can set the maximum pressure, but I just leave that as default. There was another pen icon here, but I accidentally deleted it, so I suspect this driver can actually customize 2 pens. And when I roll over one of the pens, it says it's the PW600L pen. To calibrate the pen to remove cursor misalignment, you have to go into Settings and tap here, cursor calibration, and here you have more pen settings. You can enable or disable tilt sensitivity. The tip is this. When you tap on something, there will be an action, so you can disable this. Once you disable this, you will not be able to tap on anything. So I have this enabled. I'm not even sure why there is this settings here. And you can enable or disable pressure here. And make sure you back up your settings for the hotkeys and also the side buttons once you are done. And now for the line test, and the app that I'm using as usual is Paint Pro. I like to use this app because this app does not provide any software correction to the lines. So the line quality that you see is the line quality from the pen. And as you can see, this pen display can be used for writing and is able to capture my handwriting style quite accurately. First, we will test for initial activation force and diagonal line wobble. So this is how thick the brush really is. And now I'm going to glance the pen with minimal pressure on the display. And I can draw thin lines quite easily. Let's draw a straight line with a straight edge. And this is pretty straight. Next, let's see how lines taper. And this is quite good, as in the lines can taper quite smoothly and sharply. And you can use this for cross-hatching as well. The pen is very sensitive, oops. So you can create cross-hatching like this. Line transition from thin to thick and back to thin. And this is also a diagonal line, so we can check for diagonal line wobble. So the line transition looks smooth. I don't see any noticeable diagonal line wobble. And there is no random pressure variance. So this looks alright. Let's draw some dots. Heavier or bigger dots. No issues here. This is the cursor misalignment test, where I will draw separate lines and try to join the lines together without gaps, without the lines overshooting. And I'm looking at the pen tip, not at the cursor. So if there are any issues with cursor misalignment, you should calibrate the pen first. So let's zoom in. So I am able to join the lines properly without the lines overshooting like this. And without gaps like this. So this seems fine. And you can also see some line variation with the line width, which is good. Next, we'll test for tilt sensitivity. So now the pen is vertical and the dot is at the intersection. So if I tilt the pen down to 45 degrees, I see minimal to no cursor movement. So that is good. If I tilt the pen much lower now, the cursor does straight away 1 or 2 pixels, but it's quite unnatural to tilt the pen that low. So this is 45 degrees and back to vertical. So regardless of how you hold the pen, either more vertically or much lower, you don't have to worry about the cursor moving away from the pen tip, as the cursor is always almost directly beneath the pen tip. Let's look at tilt sensitivity with Kritar, and I'm going to choose the Pencil 5 tilted brush. So as I change the direction of the pen, notice the cursor will follow the direction of the pen. So that is good. Let's just draw a very simple circle. And this is good. It's smooth, there is no stutter. So if I draw a vertical line like this, the darker shade is on the left side. If I want to have the darker shade on the right side, I have to, have the pen point the other side, and now the darker shade is on the other side. If I want to draw a thin line, I can hold the pen like this. If I want a broad stroke like this, thin like this, broad like this. Yeah, so the performance is predictable. And this app is Sketchbook, so now the pen is vertical with minimal pressure, with heavy pressure, minimal pressure, and now I can tilt the pen with minimal pressure and with AV pressure. So pressure and tilt can work together at the same time. And now let's talk about the drawing experience while I sketch something quickly. So this 15.6-inch display is actually a comfortable size to work with. This is not considered a small pen display. The display size is almost the same size as A4 paper. The display is actually wider, but slightly shorter. So this is almost A4 paper, which is to me a pretty nice size to work with. I actually prefer to draw or work with a 15 to 20-inch pen display because my table is not that big. The app that I'm using here is Medibank Paint. I have also tested Clip Studio Paint and the drawing experience is similar. Let me put down some drafting lines first. So this pen is really sensitive, so I can sketch very lightly with minimal pressure to get the thin lines, so it makes sketching feels like sketching. And the pen tip, this pen tip for some reason is the felt nib, which is pre-installed, and Huion has only provided one felt nib here. There are no extra felt nibs in the pen holder for some reason. In the pen holder there are 10 standard nibs, which are the plastic nibs, so I'm not sure why they did not include additional felt nibs. Anyway, this felt nib feels really nice on the matte glass surface. So when I tap on the display, the tapping sound is dampened. It's not sharp, so it's not noisy, which is nice. And because this is a felt nib, it does not feel plasticky when sketching on the display. The pen glides very smoothly, I would say, but it's not slippery, so you can get some good control over the pen. And I do highly recommend you get the felt nibs because they feel better on the matte glass surface. This pen display does not produce much heat, so you don't have to worry about heat making your hands feel uncomfortable. The main limitation of this pen display to me is the resolution, which is just 1080p. So you can certainly see some pixelation with the UI, but it's not really a big issue because, I mean, if you want a higher resolution pen display, there are actually higher resolution pen displays from Huion as well. They are selling at higher prices. They are more expensive, so it really depends on how much you want to spend. So 1080p is actually alright, it's still very usable for drawing. The pen performance is fantastic. Just see how the lines taper. This is really sharp, very natural. So I can draw thin and thick lines like this. You can draw very expressive lines very easily. This, by the way, is how thick the brush is. So I can use a thick brush to draw a thin line like this. And let me try and join this line smoothly. And I can join the line smoothly because there is no cursor misalignment. And if I want to, I can press down hard to color this, but it's probably easier to use the fill bucket. I'm actually drawing with the help of a reference photo, which is on my laptop. So I'm using a dual display setup, and it's very useful to have the switch display shortcut on the pen, so I can switch my cursor, see the cursor there, over to the laptop and back. And there are 3 shortcut buttons, so you can set one to switch display, another to right click, and another one to whichever shortcut you like. I actually do not use the hotkeys or the slider on the pen display because my other hand is always on my keyboard. But the hotkeys, they work fine. Let's use the, what's that, fill bucket. Okay, it doesn't work here because there is a gap somewhere. So the workflow is very smooth. I did not encounter any issues at all with this app and also with Clip Studio. Everything just works as usual. I think it's great that Huion has updated the Kamvas Pro 16 to use PenTech 4 because there should still be people who prefer the older design. So this is just a very quick sketch, a very simple sketch. Let's take a look at other sketches that I have drawn. This was drawn with the Sumi brush, so let me disable the colors. So this is the textured Sumi brush. And you can see the diagonal line here, this is very smooth without any wobble or jitter. The line here is also very smooth. The hotkeys and the touch bar can be quite useful. So this is the function switch for the touch bar, and you can choose between the different functions using your pen. So now I can scroll up and down, and if I choose brush size, I can change the brush size. And this is the rectangular keyboard shortcut where you can customize all the shortcuts here. This can be quite useful because you can set keyboard shortcuts that require many key combinations into a single button here. Okay, let's look at the Clip Studio sketch. Oops. Yeah, so this is a really good size. I have palettes here, and I can still put palettes here on the right side. This was drawn with the Beat Husky brush, so you can see some texture with the line art. Let's have a look at the thin and thick lines. So you can create very expressive lines, thin and thick, very easily, which is really nice. So you can create very expressive strokes very easily. And if you want a very consistent line width, you can do so as well because the pen is accurate. So to conclude, you can expect fantastic pen performance from the pen and a wonderful drawing experience from this pen display, the Huion Kamvas Pro 16 V2. So if you guys are interested to buy this pen display, purchase links are in the video description below, and those are affiliate links. So if you purchase anything through those links, I actually get to earn some commission, but at no extra cost to you. And your support helps this channel. Thanks for watching. See you guys in the next video. Bye.